From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme 3 podcast.
Welcome back, cinephiles, cinema lovers, movie appreciators, and of course, our family and friends to the Gimme 3 podcast, a series for cinephiles. I'm Bella of Stratus, and I'm joined as always by my exceptional co-host, Nicholas Ibarra. Nick, how's your day going so far?
Today is going good. It's a busy day, but every day is busy for old Nick. And you know what they say, Bella? You know what they say? It's better busy than bored. I
agree, honestly.
And I can honestly say that I have not been bored in probably about 30 years.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, this week has been anything but boring with our watch list. Happy Pride Month, everyone. My watch list this month has been gay as hell, and I've loved every single second of it. It's been just so wonderful to rewatch and talk about some of my all-time favorite films, but more importantly, to discover some new favorites per your recommendations, Nick. So,
fascinating.
Which is what we're all about here at the Gimme 3 podcast. So
that's right.
Thank you. I think our listeners are in for a treat with this one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, today we're bringing you guys part 2 of our queer love stories theme. So in case you missed it, in part 1, we discussed Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Moonlight, and we ended with Brokeback Mountain. My God, we really went for the heartbreakers last episode, didn't we?
Right? Yeah,
we put them through the emotional ringer with that one. But I can assure our listeners today that at least 2 of the films in our lineup today will make this a much more lighthearted episode. And all 3 of the films are love stories for the ages. Do you want to kick us off with our first film?
Yes, this is the one that is not so lighthearted.
Yeah, sorry, I set it up there in a different
way. It's all good. It's a very important film.
Yes,
I believe it's called Silverlake Life: The View from Here. Is a documentary that came out in 1993. Is directed by Tom Joslin, who's in the film, and Peter Friedman. And the film follows Tom and his life partner, lover, Mark Massi, as they live and battle AIDS in the early 90s. And Tom especially starts to see sharp declines in his health throughout the film, and when that starts to happen, the couple opts to document their experiences with the disease. So early in the film, Tom says to the camera, in the first footage ever recorded for the film and first footage ever recorded for, on the first tape, Tom says, the message is clear for this movie. I love you. And that is what this movie is all about, through this harrowing, tragic journey that they go on, and we go on with them. It is really at the heart and soul of it. It is, Tom wanted to put it out there on Front Street, as they say. It is about these 2 people's love for each other. It is, the film's about them living with AIDS, so I'm not going to go into the plot too much. You meet their family, you meet their friends, you see their day-to-day life and doing simple tasks and how challenging it is, and how blessed we are that AIDS as we knew it then is not AIDS as we know it today.
Yeah.
The film is underseen. It's underappreciated. We had the honor of screening this, a repertory screening of this at the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival, the film festival that I program. And we hosted a repertory screening at the Los Feliz 3 for World AIDS Day. I forget what year it was. I think it was like 2017 or 2018 or something, but I hadn't seen it. I watched it like obviously before we decided to screen it. Sonia recommended it to me, and as soon as I saw it, I knew that I wanted to do a repertory screening of this because it was just so powerful. And I could not find, I had to do a deep dive research of who owned the rights to this film because I could not find it. At one point, PBS owned the rights to the film. At one point, I think Sundance may have owned the rights to the film because it screened at Sundance as well.
Oh, wow.
So anyways, I went on like a months long journey, and where I ended up was messaging Peter Friedman, one of the directors of the film, on Facebook. Yeah. I just took a shot in the dark, found him on Facebook, and said, "Hey, you don't know me. I want to screen this film for my film festival for a one-night event in honor of World AIDS Day. We're gonna donate the money." And he was like, "Thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for appreciating the film. I'm sure Tom and Mark would be happy to hear it." And he just basically gave me the film screening rights for free. So we got to do a big screening at the Los Feliz 3, which was one of the highlights of my cinephile life and my one of the highlights of my festival programming career. So
that's incredible.
Anyways, that's a personal story, but the film itself is incredible, and as I said, harrowing, and it is. I will be straight up with you. It's not for the faint of heart because you see a beautiful love story, but you also see these men and especially Tom deteriorate to all the way up to and including death. You see.
Yeah. You see everything.
You see everything. But the film is an important document for film history, for gay history, for the history of this awful disease. And it won the Peabody Award, if you could believe that. I think in 1994, it won the Peabody Award for documentary. So.
Oh, wow.
Incredible piece. Bella, you messaged me that you had actually seen this before. How and where did you see this?
Yeah, I'm so happy that you chose this film, Nick, because I totally agree. It's criminally underrated. And yeah, I first watched Silverlake Life back in college for a documentary film class that I took. It was an amazing class. Shout out Dr. DeMaio at LMU. He was one of my favorite professors. He put me onto so many incredible and unforgettable documentaries, including this one, which I will say was a lot to watch in a class. But I'm so glad that we did because this is honestly like a life-altering film to watch. Like you feel changed after watching it. And yeah, like you said, Tom and Mark share everything. And I think films like this are rare. I think it's so special to see something that's so personal and private shared with the world. And I think Mark and Tom knew that their story was incredibly important for the world to see and to know. As a video diary type of documentary, I think this might be the most like personal and unfiltered insight into a day or like a year in the life of someone living with AIDS at this time that at least I've ever seen. And I think, I just think this film is full of so many incredibly important issues that needed to be shown and taught and known. And like this film shows really the importance of understanding what it really was like during this time, like socially, politically, mentally, and emotionally for gay men. It shows the various ways that AIDS manifested physically in the body. Yeah. It shows how society and the government treated gay people and specifically people with AIDS. Mark briefly touches on the complicated nature of their paperwork, and or when they go on vacation by the pool, he's asked to keep his shirt on to make others more comfortable. And then they ask the important question of, what about me? Why am I not allowed the same right to be comfortable? And then on top of all of this important information and insight, Mark and Tom share their truly unconditional love with the world. I mean, this is like a real and true love story. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. This movie like wrecks me every time I've seen it. There are just so many moments where I can literally feel my heart cracking. But I think my favorite aspect of this love story, like you were saying in your beautiful introduction of it, is that the one thing that makes me cry throughout the entirety of this documentary is how often Mark and Tom say "I love you" to each other. They say it like every "I love you" is going to be their last, and yet it's never enough. And it's equally beautiful as it is heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah, when we picked this theme, this was like the first movie that came to my mind as just kind of like, when I just think of love stories, even though it's not like your standard love story, but when I think of like two people in love, I'll always think of these two, just because to maintain that level of commitment and adoration and still romance. And you don't get me wrong, what I also love about their documentary is they show the moments where they, are pissed at each other too.
Like that's what makes it so real.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, it's not always like roses and rainbows. Obviously, it's not. They're going through this tremendously physically tolling disease, but also just like the little things like, Mark wants to go run some errands and Tom wants to go home because he's feeling like shit. And so Tom's all pissed at him and shit. It's just like,
I love that scene.
You get it. And it's real.
Yes.
It's like really, really real.
I would even add just like in their, they have like a moment where they give you a look into like a therapy session, like a couples therapy session. And the therapist does a great job at kind of defining the ways they're each dealing with their illness in different ways. Like Mark is trying to lower the threat and Tom is trying to make the most of what he has. And when he tells them that, you're like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And you can see it in their own selves being like, I agree. Like, that's true. And then they're like, how do we work with this? And they do. Like, they are like it's funny. Like, when they show like their past history together, I'm like, this is the perfect like tortured artist couple, like a match made in heaven.
Right.
Just and Mark is, I mean, both of them, but obviously Mark kind of having to take on the role of caring for Tom more throughout the course of his disease. Like, he's just a dream partner in terms of like always there for Tom no matter what.
Yeah, when we come into the film, the writing's kind of on the wall for Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's an incredible documentary. I don't want to say too much more about it, just because I think that when you're ready for it, it's a film that should be seen and kind of experienced. And I think it is definitely something you should see and experience. But again, as we mentioned, fair warning, it does get intense, and it does get heartbreaking, and it does get, you see it all. I'll say
it's graphic. Yeah, it's definitely graphic, I would say. I did not give my roommate the warning when I was watching it, and I felt really bad.
We got to bring your roommate on to just be like, give me 3 traumatic experiences you've seen, or lived through being Bella's roommate while she's making this podcast.
Honestly, she's seen it all. Oh, that's hilarious.
Silverlake Life, The View from Here, Peabody Award winner from 1993. It is streaming on YouTube, and that is pretty much the only place you could see it. So check out YouTube. Okay, let's brighten it up here a little bit.
Yes, we've got our first romantic comedy and not totally tragic star-crossed lover romance in this series up next with Alice Wu's 2004 debut feature film, Saving Face. Wilhelmina, played by Michelle Krusiak, is our lead. She is a young Chinese-American woman working night and day as a surgeon in New York City. In an unexpected turn of events, her single mother has to move in with her when she's ostracized by her parents for getting pregnant as a 48-year-old woman out of wedlock. In what is already a tension-filled family dynamic, Michelle is a lesbian, though her mother has never acknowledged or supported this aspect of her identity. But when Michelle starts a romantic relationship with the dancer named Vivian, played by Lin Chen, she feels the pressure of saving face. Face is a pan-East Asian social concept that it essentially refers to the behaviors and customs family members have to follow to honor the family, specifically the family patriarch, and maintain their social image. So obviously, in terms of their Chinese family and community social structure, an older woman pregnant out of wedlock with her lesbian daughter is not saving face. So to give you some background, Saving Face actually started as a novel, but after realizing it would make a much better film, Wu wrote the script in 3 days in a screenwriting class. Wow. And she dedicated 5 years to the actual filmmaking process and production process of this film. And the story was inspired by her own complicated experience coming out to her mother. It's very similar to that, not exact, but very similar to what we see in the film. And while it was a tumultuous relationship at first, they eventually grew very close, and Wu ultimately dedicated the film to her mother, which I thought was really beautiful. So this would have been a great pick for our Mother's Day, Great Mother's Characters episode.
I was thinking the same thing when I was watching it. Yeah.
But I also think Will and Vivian's love story is one that is just so relatable for so many people. Mm-hmm. And it's so much fun and so beautiful as well. But yeah, I saw this at the New Beverly yesterday for the first time. I'd heard about it a lot, and so I was really excited. I wanted to choose it. I wanted to have the full experience of seeing that, and it was so much fun. But I'm curious if you had seen this film before.
I hadn't seen it. I watched it. I had watched it for the first time a couple nights ago. I wanted to go to the New Beverly with you to see it on the big screen the way God intended, but but it's been a crazy week. So, anyways, I'll say this: the first act of the film, I was kind of not feeling it, or I was like still feeling it out. You know, I wasn't fully sold. Mm-hmm. I thought that the two leads I didn't feel like had that magnetic, intense chemistry, you know, and I was way more interested in the mother character and her story.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But it was around the middle of the film, like somewhere in the second act, where the film really won me over. And it's kind of where those two things blend. My two critiques kind of blend and informed each other. And it's when Will is helping her pregnant mother get ready for this date. and the mom's like having second thoughts, and she's at the 0 hour and she's trying to get out of the date. And she tells Will, in one of the more heartbreaking lines of the film, she says, "I don't want to go. Just tell him I'm sick. Tell him I've lost my voice. And what would I have to say anyway?" And I thought those two lines back to back right there, where she says, "Tell him I've lost my voice," which I think is very symbolic. And what would I have to say anyway? She says, like a 48-year-old woman going on a 48-year-old pregnant woman going on a date. Like, how pathetic is that? And I was just like, okay, this says so much about Will's mother, what she's battling internally. Also, it offers way more insight into Will's character and perhaps why she's so closed off and tense. And then, so that line in a way kind of justified for me the lack of chemistry that I felt in the first act from the love story of the film. And it was like, oh, well, that actually makes sense because Will's probably lost her voice also. And wasn't it just last week, Bella, on this very podcast, the Gimme 3 podcast, a series for cinephiles, where Max Sopkin, being a guest on our Pixar episode, was talking about Coco being like a catalyst for generational trauma movies, this like trend of generational trauma movies. And I think he may be right to like some extent on a big studio level, like, you know, Coco, big Disney movie.
And it's like for family of all, like kids of all, people of all ages. Yeah.
But on the independent scene, we've seen it before. We've seen it done well, especially in the early 90s. It was being done a lot. And definitely here in 2004's Saving Face. And I thought that scene was like the embodiment of that idea.
I could not agree more. Yeah. I could not agree more. Literally, like when I first watched it, I was like, shit, this is less of a love story than I thought it would be. More like mother-daughter. But then, by the second half, it's such a genius blend. And even like, you know, throughout the film, we see Will kind of at odds with her own identity, like internally, like she almost doesn't even realize it, I feel like. Because her mother has like never accepted her as a lesbian. And so there's a lot of tension and strain on their relationship. And so then like throughout her relationship with Vivian, Will realizes kind of towards the end that her family's biases have really affected her in that like she can't really allow herself to be out and open with Vivian in public. Like they have this beautiful relationship behind closed doors, but Vivian wants more. She wants to go out and show the world their love. And when Will can't do that, she like has this realization that she's doing exactly what her mom has done to her, like perpetuating this kind of social stigma. And the whole concept of shame and honor and saving face. But then, spoiler, like at the end when her mother comes around, there's kind of like a funny parallel with their relationships because we discover there's a pretty big age difference between her mom and the father of her baby.
Right.
And it's so funny to me that like this age difference and the social stigma around it is what makes her mother kind of realize like how ridiculous the shame is and that love is love. Like we don't control who we love and what matters most is our happiness and everyone has the right to love. And I just thought that was such a like funny and beautiful blend of the two stories and like bringing all the characters together and like the climax of the film.
It all worked out. And you like, it ended up being this movie that I was like lukewarm on. It ended up like by the end of it, I was just like crying my eyes out. Like, listen, the 6 movies that we're discussing are these queer love stories. We've seen some amazing films, incredible performances, some like true heart-wrenching stories. The ending of this film is when Will comes up on what's her girlfriend's name?
Vivian.
When she comes up on Vivian in that, you know, weekly community gathering, and she's like walking towards her. I was like, this is the most romantic scene in the 6 films that we're discussing. I was like, this is that romantic comedy ending that you want from a romantic comedy where you're just on the edge of your seat. You're like, oh, please live happily ever after. Please live happily ever after. Please. And you get the beautiful score. And it's just like, this is romance, baby. This is what I'm talking about.
It's so true. It like gets your heart racing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you want. Those heart palpitations. You feel when you start feeling the butterflies that they're feeling. It's like fucking A. Good job, Alice Wu.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I really enjoyed this film. It was so much fun. I think it was great to include this in the many sad films that we've watched this week.
I know. As we were prepping this episode, I was like starting to go through the love stories we're talking about. I was like, God damn, a lot of these love stories are kind of tragic, which, you know, like maybe that says something. That's a conversation for another day about the queer love stories. But this one, the this one and the final one we're going to talk about have some really lovely, endearing, and beautiful happy endings.
Yes, 100%.
I'm glad you got to see this. How was the crowd last night at the Beverly?
Oh, it was so much fun, especially because like the first movie was such a like this is a rom-com, but the first movie is like so fucking dumb, but in the best way. Like I loved it. So everyone was already pretty like riled up from that, and then this movie was so funny. So the crowd was a really good time. It made it that much better. I'm happy to have seen it there.
Awesome.
But yeah, you guys can check out Saving Face. Actually, sorry, let me look it up really quick. All right. Yeah, you guys can watch Saving Face for free on Tubi. It might come with ads, though. So if you want to avoid that, you can rent it on Amazon Prime or wherever you rent your movies, YouTube, all that stuff. Honestly, it's worth it. It's so much fun. Great performances, hilarious. Not a moment that kind of drags. Like you're just in it to the very end. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for recommending that one. That was a good one.
Of course, yeah.
Which brings us to our third and final for the episode and sixth and final for our theme. Show Me Love, 1998 film. It's also known as, in Sweden, it was released as Fucking Åmål, which is a much better title.
Love that.
Yeah. Written and directed by Lukas Moodysson. Sorry, I totally butchered your name. I'm either sorry that I butchered your name, or I'm sorry that if that is how you say your name, I'm sorry that's how you say your name. So Show Me Love follows Agnes. Hold on. Before I get into this, let me just say, here's another, it's the adventures of movie going with Nikki Barr today. So I saw this movie for the first time, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, Outfest, which is, I believe no longer because of some shady doings. But the Great Film Festival, formerly known as Outfest, did a repertory screening of this at the DGA, and
nice.
It was a 35 millimeter print screening. And
wow.
And so Sonia and I went to go see it, and one of the projectors went out, so they couldn't do the reel changes like as smoothly as possible. So we had to basically watch this reel by reel. For our audience that doesn't know what that means, it was like we'd watch the film basically in 15-minute to 20-minute increments. So we'd watch 15 to 20 minutes. They'd have to pull the reel off, put the new reel on. So we had like 5-minute breaks in between every 15 to 20 minutes, which showed everybody's dedication to want to, because nobody left. Everybody's just like staying, and they're like, we're seeing this. But also it was kind of nice because in between the reel changes, we were kind of like talking to other filmmakers, film fans, cinephiles sitting around us, and we kind of like got to know them and hear their thoughts on the movie and stuff. So anyways, it was a unique first viewing experience, but
to say the least,
a memorable one.
Oh, good.
And so I rewatched this for the first time, watching it all the way through, actually, without like these little reel changes.
That is so funny.
And I was like, wow, this movie is short.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So the movie follows Agnes, who is a well-mannered, quiet, shy 16-year-old high school student living in Sweden. And she has got this major crush on Eileen. Ellen?
I just called her Ellen. Yeah.
Ellen, who is that high school girl we all know.
Yeah.
Rebellious, angsty, spunky, bad girl. In one of the earlier scenes of the film, she's like screaming because she's like stuck at home and she can't go out at night, and she like screams out of frustration, "I just want to take some drugs." was like,
I
oh
love
my God.
her.
Like, gee whiz. I knew this girl growing up. Didn't hang out with her, but I knew her. So they have very different crowds. They have very different backgrounds. They have very different interests, but they are going through similar identity crises as they contest with their feelings of lust, their feelings of belonging, acceptance, and like any good 90s high school movie, their feelings of hopelessness, angst, angst.
Oh, yeah.
They, a very real courtship, starts to take place. And that's pretty much the gist of it. The film is funny as hell. But it is also so authentically angsty for like straight up. Like I'm not, like I've seen a lot of high school films in my day, and I'm talking a lot. I've been watching them since I was fucking 5, watching The Breakfast Club, and I've been watching high school movies since long before I was in high school. And I gotta say, on the real, this is the most accurate depiction of high school angst that I have ever seen in my days.
Yes.
But Bella, what were your thoughts on old Show Me Love, aka Fucking Åmål?
Oh my God, I just have to say thank you so much for introducing this film to me. This is my kind of shit. Like, in my Letterboxd review for this film, I referred to it as a 90s Skins Sweden, the movie, because it reminded me so much of Skins UK, the teen drama comedy show I'm always nonstop talking about because I love it so much. But it just had so many similar characters and vibes. So I absolutely loved it. Like the grain and the grime of this film. You give me a grainy, grimy teen drama comedy and I will watch it. I love that shit so much. This movie, it has the perfect aesthetic for this kind of story because while the film does have so many like hilarious moments and funny characters, the characters are simultaneously experiencing these like really traumatic things and feelings that are super common among teenagers. Like being a teenager is so traumatic and dramatic. And sometimes all we can do is reflect and like make light of some of those intense moments.
It's like you look at these young girls' lives compared to like the life of Chiron growing up, and you're just like, all right, this is just dramatic, ladies.
Like,
it's
relax,
it's not
but
traumatic.
Also, like, I get you.
but it's real, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this film and Skins and media like it. Except for Euphoria. I'm not even fuck Euphoria. Fuck Sam Levinson. Anyways, sorry. Don't let me go down that rabbit hole. It's bad. Anyways, yeah, I fucking loved this movie. It was so funny. Ellen was my favorite character, of course. She gives me like manic pixie dream girl archetype vibes, like just extremely bored party girl, sick and tired of her boring hometown.
Manic pixie dream girls wish they were Ellen. Are you kidding?
True, honestly. They walked so she could run. Just like, yeah, I thought she was so funny. I love that we see her character change and grow throughout the film. Her relationship with her sister Jessica also made me very grateful that I never had a sister. No shade to anyone with sisters, but like, goddamn, those fights were so scary. But I also loved Agnes so much, and I definitely related to her the most out of everyone. There was one scene in particular that made me laugh a little bit because it was just too relatable as the eldest in my family. Just a small anecdote, but it's the scene the night of her 16th birthday when she has the emotional meltdown over no one coming to her party that she never even wanted to have. And she's like screaming she wants to die and like crying, and her parents are just like, what the fuck do we do? And then there's like her little brother, and he's just like, can we eat now? Like, I'm hungry. And it just reminded me so much of like my youngest brother Milo, because we're 8 years apart. So really similar to the characters in this film. When I was 16, I would have some crazy dramatic mental breakdown or fight with my parents, and Milo would just be sitting there like, so when's dessert? Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
And that just made me giggle.
Milo knew we were gonna get over it, so he was like, "So, can I play Monopoly now or what?"
Yeah, it's like, I'm bored of this while my world is ending. So, but yeah, and it's just such an authentic film, like you were saying, and especially of like the 90s, like the way the teens talk about pop culture. That scene when Jessica tells Ellen Teen Vogue said raves are out, and she like checks the magazine and throws a mini tantrum. That was so funny to me. And also the amount of times Leonardo DiCaprio popped up in this film, very of the times, like the 90s Hollywood heartthrob. We see Agnes has a poster of Romeo plus Juliet in her bedroom. Although we all know she's checking out Claire Danes. Another girl at school has like a photo of Leo in her locker. He even comes up in conversation. Ellen's like, he's a total greaseball, which is so funny. And then, sorry, I'm ranting, but I just also have to mention the mobile phone scene. And that breakup scene is the most iconic breakup scene I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, that is cinema.
Right.
That is what I want to see in a movie.
Yeah.
It's just, so much of this movie is so much fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I loved it. It's easily one of my new favorites. So thank you so much for recommending it.
Yeah, I loved it when I first saw it, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, I loved this more than I thought I did. It was one of those weird things where I was like, oh, this is even better than I remember it. Probably because I watched it one reel at a time the first time.
I was going to say, that sounds a little tricky.
The two leads, Alexandra Dahlstorm as Ellen and Rebecca, oh God almighty, Lilligberg, sorry, Rebecca, as Agnes, they are just magnetic. They have these great faces that just pull you in. And like, especially Rebecca, she like, her uncomfortability, she's just like, her eyes are shifted, and she's just like so sweet and got these like soft, innocent baby features. Like, she probably was really 16, the actress, but she doesn't even look that old. She looks like a little girl, you know?
Yeah.
And
I was wondering how old they were in real life.
In real life, I'm curious. Yeah. But it's probably because like most American movies, when there are 16-year-olds, they hire 22-year-olds, you know?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
These were probably actually 16-year-olds, which, you know, 16-year-olds look young.
Yeah, it's true.
But I love that this film just like subverts the tropes of so many romantic comedies or just romance films in general for the sake of what's real and what's authentic. Like the first kiss is not like some big romantic first kiss where they're like, oh yes, we realize we are lesbians, you know. It's like, no, the first kiss scene is heartbreaking and so fucked up because Ellen kisses Agnes as a part of a bet and totally rips her heart out, and Agnes nearly kills herself for it. And it's just like, oh my shit. And then later you have Ellen being in a relationship with the boy instead of Agnes in order to, you know, save face with her friends. Here we go. Saving face.
Saving face.
And then the other detail I love about this queer, charming love story is that all the parents in this film are good, caring, lovely parents. That they're just trying their best to manage teenage daughters, which, as any parent will tell you, ain't easy. But the parents are sweet and endearing, especially Agnes's father. What a sweet character he is.
I loved him. Oh my God. It like breaks your heart a little bit. Like, you can feel his heart breaking, seeing how much pain she's in.
there's one scene where the dad is like, she's depressed and she's just like lying on the couch in the fetal position, just like crying, basically. It's just like her heart's
just
broken.
Not well. Yeah.
She's not well. She is lovesick and totally lost. And poor dad's sitting next to her and he's like talking about, well, when I was growing up, the students that were so popular ended up not amounting to much, and when I went to my 25th high school reunion, the popular girls, like, they weren't so much of anything, and the guys who were like the jocks and the popular guys, they didn't amount much to anything. And turns out I was kind of the happy one, and I love my life and I've got a great family here. And Agnes goes, sorry, but I'd rather be happy now than in 25 years, Dad. It's like, does that not encapsulate what it's like to be in high school? And what everybody's always like, think of your future, high school student. And high school students are like, what future? What future?
It doesn't even exist.
What the fuck are you talking about? 25 years from now, I'm going to be happy? That is... I'm not even 25 years old. Like, that is...
She's like, I don't think I can make it. Yeah. Like...
so I just love that. I wrote that down. I was like, sorry, Dad, I'd rather be happy now than in 25 years. I was like, good God. That is... I love that such scene. A real teenage girl line.
Yes. It's obviously a movie, but like it feels so real and just, how authentic the way the kids talk to each other, like the slang, or even, just things like that, where it's like you would hear that from a teenage girl 100%.
I haven't done research into like the making and writing of this film, but I'd be interested to see like how much Lucas had the girls either improv or be a part of the process. Like there's that movie 13. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't yet, but I'm planning on watching it. This reminded me of it a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
So like Nikki Reed, who is like a real 13-year-old, who's in the movie, but like also helped write the script to just kind of help it make it feel like as true as possible. And I was like, I wonder if the young actors in this helped kind of create some of the dialogue or some of the scene building, because it feels so...
I feel like they had to have. Yeah, just because it's so real, like shockingly real, which is also what makes this film so good. And like, the ending is adorable.
Dude, we have to talk about the ending scene.
We have to. Okay, I was like, I don't know if we're going to go there, but like we have to, especially with our theme.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
So the ending scene is like Agnes and what's her name? Ellen. Agnes and Ellen are like trapped in the bathroom together. They're like trying to decide like, okay, are we gonna do this? Are we gonna like come out together in front of the whole school? And the classmates are banging on the door because they think Ellen's in there with a dude. And they're like, let's see who you're fucking, you slut. And
like the whole
school out there. It's just like, and so they literally have to come out together. And so Ellen says, this is my girlfriend and we're going to go fuck. So they walk it out and little Agnes has this little shit-eating grin on her face. Like, I got the girl, I got the popular girl.
Yes.
And the best part is like, you think the movie's going to end there because it's such a like perfect ending shot. Could be like a freeze
frame, like Breakfast Club.
It's like, all right, cool. They nailed it. And then it cuts to Agnes in Ellen's room waiting for Ellen to come in. And you're just like, oh my God, they're not going to show these two teenage girls doing it, are they? And no, they're not. They do something way better, which is Ellen comes in with 2 glasses of chocolate milk. And she hands one chocolate milk glass to Agnes. And she's like, it's good, right? And Agnes is like, yeah, it's good. And she just starts rambling about the trials and tribulations of making chocolate milk and her experimentations with making chocolate milk. And Agnes is smiling her ass off. You can see she's just smitten, loving this story. Yeah. And it's so endearing. You're just like, they're kids. They're just like little girls in love. And they're just like, and it was just
so cute.
And it just ends with them drinking chocolate milk together. It's like, oh man, I love that ending. I just loved it.
Love it so much. I love like the final line is literally she's like, yeah, I always have to like, then I have like too much, so I have to put it in another glass, and you end up with a lot of chocolate milk.
Yeah.
And then it just ends.
It just ends.
It's so good. Oh yeah, that ending is amazing. And the fact that they literally have to like quite literally come out of like a closet together is just at school is just like it's so funny and campy in a weird way. I love about this film.
It works.
A part of me does wish we got to see more of Agnes and Ellen together, just because I literally love them so much. But like literally just them hanging out and like doing crazy shit together, but like this was more than enough.
Well, that was, that's what the other thing I kind of like about that ending is because it's like, what are they doing all this crazy stuff for?
I know. Yeah.
What are they doing it for? They're doing it for what does any high school student do crazy shit for? For attention.
Attention. Yeah. Yeah.
And once they get the attention that they are seeking, once they get the love or lust, whatever they are looking for, what do? They're just like, oh, let's just drink some chocolate milk.
They're like, yeah, I'm good now. We're good, right?
We're just drinking chocolate milk. It's great. I just loved it. It's so sweet.
So funny. It's so sweet. Oh my God. Yeah. And yeah, you said it perfectly. Agnes's little face, just like cheesing. It almost makes me think that scene is improvised, because I'm like, the way she's rambling and the way that Agnes is reacting to Ellen's rant is just, it's perfect. It's so funny.
Agreed. Show Me Love. You can, aka Fucking Åmål. You can check it out you can rent it on demand, I believe, on YouTube and Amazon and other places where you get your on-demand films. But if you don't want to be demanding, who wants to be demanding? You can rent it at your local video stores. If you live in Los Angeles, check out Cinephile Video on Santa Monica Boulevard. Check out Vidiot's. You can check out Videotech in Pasadena. Plenty of options. And I'm sure there's options in a city near you if you do not live in the great city of Los Angeles. Support your local video stores. Support physical media. But most of all, above all else, support us, the Gimme 3 podcast. Ain't that right, Bella?
That's right. Alrighty, y'all. That's a wrap on our queer love stories theme this week. We hope you guys enjoyed this series, and we hope it inspired you to check out these incredible films if you haven't seen them already as well. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We really appreciate it. And if you love the Gimme 3 podcast, like Nick was saying, and you'd like to show your support even more, here's 2 really quick ways you can do so. The first and easiest thing you can do is set up automatic downloads of our episodes on Spotify. So once you've subscribed to our show on the app, you can click on the settings wheel below and hit that auto download episodes toggle. This way you can listen to us anytime, anywhere, and it also helps to get our show out there more. We also have a Patreon you can subscribe to for just $5 a month, where you can access a whole bunch of fun bonus episodes. We've got spoiler-free movie recommendations for each month, a special episode of 3 more of our 2023 favorite films, an extension of one of our earlier episodes this year, and so much more. So if you want to sign up, you can scroll down to our episode description and click either of the links. One says support the show, the other Patreon. Either one will work. Shout out to all of our listeners and subscribers. Thank you. You guys are the best. We really appreciate all your support. And you can also find us on Instagram at Gimme3Podcast. So that's GIMME spell out 3 podcast. let us know what you guys think of these films. I'm so excited to hear what you guys think. And while you're there, give us a follow. You could also send us a quick text through the link at the top of our episode description. Send us your thoughts. Send us recommendations as well. We want to expand our watch list here at the Gimme 3 podcast. That's what we're all about. So if you have any theme ideas as well, drop those there. All that being said, Nick, do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you on the socials?
Yes, you can find me at Letterboxd or on Letterboxd or in Letterboxd at Nicholas Ibarra, on Instagram at Nicholas Ibarra, and on Twitter, also known as X, at Nicholas P. Ibarra. And the P stands for pontification.
Good one. And you guys can find me on Instagram at Portrait of a Cinephile or on Letterboxd at BFstratus. That's just B and then my last name, F Stratus. Next week, join us on the Gimme 3 podcast for a director's spotlight on three Yorgos Lanthimos films with a very special guest as well. An episode you certainly won't want to miss. Anyways, thanks again for joining us on the Gimme 3 podcast, and we'll see you at the movies.